Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before. This is GABNET, the Great American Broadcast Network. We're GABNET, and we've got you covered live 5 nights a week. First Tuesday through Friday at 9:30 Eastern, it's The Exchange.
Facebook group called Star Trek Discovery. Somebody posted, this was the worst episode ever. It was just a bunch of people on the ship talking. and I just have to say...
Have they not seen Star Trek before?
Yeah, I just have to say, if you are looking for action and explosions, you are likely to be disappointed by Star Trek. May I recommend another viewing of Star Wars?
Tuesday through Friday at 10 Eastern. Join Alex Bennett on the Ramble.
So I just had to bear it as it was trying to heal. And then I would be sleeping on my stomach, and then I would turn around, and it had adhered itself to the sheets. And so whatever scab I had... Are you ready for this, folks? Whatever scab I had would get ripped off, and I'd be bleeding like a stuck pig. And so I had to finally, you couldn't put a Band-Aid on it. You know, it was in a place you just had to wait for it to finally take care of itself.
Tuesday through Friday at midnight, The Intersection.
Well, you know, we have to get rid of Pence as well, because Pence is an end-timer.
You know, and we need to say to Pence, you know, you're damn right. I want a rapture because I want fools like you off of my planet.
If you like sports, we've got that too, with The Arena, Wednesday nights at 8:30 p.m. Eastern.
The Jesus guy in San Francisco, when you go down 19th Avenue, the guy with the pink phone.
Okay.
I know you met him before. I know you've seen him before.
Okay, what about him?
The one that says, when you're walking down the street, he walks up to you with the pink phone and he says, Jesus is on the phone.
Oh, okay.
And he tries to hand it to you, and you're like, wait a second. Now he's walking around with Jimmy Garoppolo's on the phone. You gotta answer.
Finally, you can get hot and bothered on Connections at 10 p.m. Eastern Monday, and by delay Tuesday through Friday at 1 a.m. Eastern.
So, Lizzie, you say you never cheated in a relationship.
Nope.
But you do understand cheating. And I'm pretty sure you may have done that in some way, shape, or form, just not in the relationship. You ever cheat on a test? You ever cheat on your diet?
Yeah, my pregnancy.
Yeah.
I failed. Dang it! It says no.
Last test I took, I failed.
Two tests you don't want positive,
Right.
HIV and pregnancy.
Catch up on all the shows with our weekend flashback. All shows have the Citizen Panel, an exclusive concept of GABNET. It's new, it's daring, it's talk like you've never heard it before.
Hi, everybody. This is Alex Bennett asking you the musical question. What are you doing every Tuesday through Friday night at 10 o'clock Eastern Time? Well, that's when we're live with The Ramble. And The Ramble is a program of deep, thoughtful discussion, sometimes just wacky and goofy. It's always fun, it's always exciting, it's always stimulating. It's a lot of people just talking with each other. Yes, we call them a citizen panel. And we have upwards to 9, 10 people. Sometimes we call it a full house, sometimes we call it a royal flush, and beyond that, just call it sheer madness. Anyway, I'd like you to join me each and every Tuesday through Friday, 10 o'clock Eastern Time until midnight for The Ramble. Right here on GABNET. Now, more than ever, talk like you've never heard it before.
Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before. This is GABNET, the Great American Broadcast Network.
Let's sing. Hello, everybody. This is Alex Bennett, and this is The Ramble. No, there's no picture on me yet. There's a reason why there's no picture on me yet. Well, I mean, I could show you a picture of me. It would be very simple. I just go, hi, see? There's me. But let's go back to the graphic, because the first 25 minutes of this show is pre-recorded with an old friend of ours in California who doesn't have video, so we do them anyway because he is so damn good. And then we will start with our picture and our citizens panel and the whole thing, and a lot of you people who are watching for the first time will get to see what this show is really all about 25 minutes from right now after our interview with an old dear friend. Ladies and gentlemen, one of our favorite people in the whole goddamn fucking shit-stained world is Larry Bubbles Brown. Hi, Larry.
I like that intro.
You like that?
That was good.
Yeah, well, I can do it. It's the internet, you know.
Yes.
You know.
No FCC on our backs anymore.
And if our president can use the word shithole, I suppose I can say anything I want.
Of course.
Including calling him a shithole. So. Larry Bubbles Brown, in case you're not familiar, is a very fine stand-up comedian who has a rather dour way of presenting himself. And but you've never been political in your act, right?
No, not at all. I think unless you're going to go the full political act, you're going to, even in California, if you would say something against Trump, you're probably going to lose a quarter of the audience. So
yeah. But of course you can, like a guy like Will Durst, for instance, because he does get a loyal following of people who are anti-Trump. But
he's doing very, very well right now. So.
But what you're saying is you can't pepper your comedy with politics without committing to it fully.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is not the nature of your act.
No, I'd rather people make fun of politics. I make fun of myself. So
yeah. So you do you ever feel though that sometimes the news is just so dour and so fucked, and this president is just pissing you off so much you got to say something about it?
I just think the world was horrible forever, so there's nothing new here.
I see. Okay. In other words, you pretty well wonder what the fuck you're here for in the first place.
Yeah, I think we talked about. I remember years ago when Marlon Brando died. He right before he died, he said, "Someday you'll be on your deathbed and you'll look back over your life and you go, what the fuck was that all about?" And I thought that was a brilliant statement. Then I asked you, you go, "Yeah, that was profound."
No, what he actually said was, "What the fuck was that all about?" That was one of his last words.
Yeah, exactly. That was on his deathbed. Okay, but that was brilliant, right?
I think I would have a tendency to say the same thing. What the fuck was that all about?
Yeah, it was
what did
totally
I spend?
Pointless.
What have I so far spent 78 years doing? You know, I've been in this constant tap dance. You know, trying to just. I guess you spend most of your life trying to survive.
Yeah.
You know, how do you pay the next bill? How do you send the kids to college? Any one of those things. So, you know.
So life, I guess what we're saying is life is highly overrated.
What I'm saying here is to all the people who are listening and who perhaps even care, is that this will be a depressing discussion. So you may as well go elsewhere.
Well, we can lighten it up a bit. I wanted to tell you, this Saturday I'm doing a show with a bunch of old friends. It's my 37th anniversary of stand-up.
The 37th anniversary of stand-up. We mentioned this last time, but you were coming up on that.
Yeah, March 3rd, 81.
Mm-hmm.
So I got...
So what are they doing?
At Throckmorton gave me a night. So I got some of your old buddies, Steve Pearl.
Yeah.
Going to be on the show. Durst.
Wow, all the people that do the show here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Durst, and who else?
There's about Meehan, Steele. Who else? I'm trying to think. I'm trying to get Dana, but I don't think he's going to show up. But.
Yeah. Well, you know, this is only your 37th. This is not like one of those anniversaries that you're just suddenly saying, "Hey, it's been 37 years," but you should have really done one at 35.
Yeah,
or 40.
And people said, or 40, but I don't think I'm going to live that long, so I thought I better get it in now.
How long have I been in radio? I am 78 years old, and I started in radio at 14. So how many years would that be?
That'd be 60. What is 78? It's 14, 60. See, my math.
I thought you were really good at math.
78, 64 years.
Well, 10 from 78 would be 68. 64 years. I've been in radio 64 years.
Your radio career almost qualifies for Medicare.
You're absolutely right.
You're 1 year away.
1 year away, yeah. So, But I have a friend who's 87, and I'm looking forward to 87. He's only 9 years older than I am. All right, so let's say I live that long. I don't know if I want to be. I'm afraid of dying, but I'm really kind of at this point afraid of living.
Yeah, if you're going to be in pain and.
I've got little aches and pains. The feet are numb. This is that, and that's this. And, before you're through, you go, what the fuck? What the fuck was this all about? Exactly.
Exactly.
Is that all there is? As the song says. But
did we miss out by not having children? I don't think so. But
I don't think so. At one point, I began to think so. This was when I was in my late 40s. I started wondering if maybe I shouldn't just have a kid for the sake of having a kid. I mean, I was in San Francisco. I was making good money. I could afford a kid. But then I had to find somebody to have it with, and I need to have a woman who I knew would never use the kid against me. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because so many times people use a child as a weapon against the other person. And I think the reason I never had any kids, or I had one, but it was given up for adoption. This was when I was a teenager. But I've never had any real kids that I can put my name on. And I wonder, would that have been a good decision? I don't think I would have had the career I had if I had kids, because I wouldn't have been able to make the independent decisions to say fuck you to certain people and to go looking for a job somewhere else and whatever, because you've got this responsibility at home with these kids and the family that you want to support. So not having that as a yoke over my head, I think I was able to do better in this business than I would have done had I been strapped with a family. Does that sound?
Yeah, and you definitely saved money.
Certainly, you wouldn't have had the career you had if you had a family.
Yeah, I wouldn't have risen to the middle.
I remember there was a comedian, Ronnie Shell, who used to refer to himself as America's slowest rising young comedian.
He was very funny.
He was very funny. He wound up on
Gomer Pyle show.
Pyle. Yeah. He was a San Francisco comic.
Yeah. But so what happened to the adopted kid? There's no way you could find out where he wound up?
No, I never was able to find out. In those days when they adopted kids, or kids were put up for adoption, they went into a deep hole, so to speak. I mean, there was no way you could go back and find out. There's no record of so-and-so adopted so-and-so on such and such a date and blah, 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 and he was the son of blah, blah, blah. No. It was just they adopted, and that was it, and there was no way to go back and find out. I don't even know if there's a way that the kid could have found out who his father was. I think today you can. Today there are.
Yeah, I think they changed that because there was a big movement and people wanted to find out.
Well, what happened was I was 19 and she was 17. Yeah, she was 17, and I wanted to adopt a child. I said, if you're going to give it up for adoption, I want it. And today I could probably have a pretty good case and get to raise the kid, right? But in those days, forget it. I had no rights at all. I just go home and cry in your beer. But I tried to adopt the kid, and to no avail. And when she had the kid was given up at birth. And who knows? I'm figuring the kid was Howard Stern. I just believe that. But at one point when I was doing the show in San Francisco, I was thinking about hiring a detective to go find the kid. And then I had second thoughts because I thought, look, here I come. All of a sudden, there's a knock on your door. You didn't know you were adopted, let's say, because I don't know what the parent told you or didn't tell you, right? But there's a knock on the door, and it's a detective, and he says, I'm representing your father. Well, that could be a real shock to somebody. So, the fact that I knew that I had a kid was one thing, but the fact that I was his father is something he never knew, and it's his job to find me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That it would be wrong of me to go find him, nothing wrong with him trying to find me. So I've sat around waiting, but I never heard from anybody. And I did talk to the mother. I was talking with writing the mother for a while in later years. And I kept dropping hints, because I wanted to find out about the situation. And, she was always kind of acting like nothing ever happened. Nothing like that ever happened between us. And in fact, I wanted to believe this woman who was writing me wasn't really that woman. But then she started mentioning people we knew in high school. And so I knew that it was her. But when in the letters, I kept writing... And she was living in Sacramento, and she had a bad marriage, and, she wasn't doing well financially. And I kept writing her and saying things like, well, we really had a profound effect on each other. And she says, well, I don't know how. It was always very mysterious to me, So.
It sounds like she wanted to, maybe she had extreme guilt over giving the kid up. And
I'm thinking that maybe she didn't, because she said she had, at that time, a 32-year-old kid, which would have been about right for being my kid within a year or so, okay? And that the kid was a lot of trouble because he had a lot of heavy depression. He was a very depressed kid. And I went, that's probably mine.
That had to be you.
That's probably mine. So I think that maybe she didn't give up the kid, or she, whatever, went back and started raising the kid, because this kid she described, she said, oh, he's balding, and I went, oh, my God, And I often wonder whether that wasn't the kid. And I still do to this day, but,
Well, if he's in radio now, we know he's yours.
Well, no, he was in something else. He didn't go into show business. So, I think that kind of thing is inherited, if you want my opinion. My father was a musician, so I wanted to be in show business.
Yeah.
But if my father were an accountant, I might have grown up to be an accountant.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know that there's a natural inclination towards being in show business or being a musician, but rather other factors that play into that. So, but I often wonder whether that was the kid, So, but did you ever come close to having any kids? Somebody got knocked up?
Came close, but that was taken care of, so that was it.
Yeah, and that was it. That was it. Yes. Yeah, I almost had a kid by. Do you remember my girlfriend? I called her Schmoody, Kathleen. Yeah. She missed her period, and she came to me and said, "I think I might be pregnant." And she was very sheepish about it. And I often wondered what my reaction would be, especially after having gone through that once before in my life. If somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, I'm pregnant by you," and I said, "Well, that's great." And she was very surprised, and I was very surprised at my reaction.
Yeah. My reaction was, don't worry, they can take care of that.
Well, it wasn't that. I think my thing was I didn't want to go not have a kid. I just didn't want to go out of my way to have one. You know what I'm saying? So as long as one was going to be coming that I didn't, expect to happen, good. Fate has dealt me the cards. So, a very strange thing on our part.
I just saw money going out the window and no sleep. So that's I was in for.
Money going out the window and no sleep.
Yes.
Yeah.
We got to end this soon.
My girlfriend, my wife, girlfriend, I call her.
Girlfriend.
She a couple of weeks, on a couple of occasions said to me, sometimes I feel bad that I never had a kid. So, we're like two, we found each other and we were two people who never had any kids. And not because we couldn't, but because we just didn't get around to it, The forces weren't aligned perfectly to have a kid by somebody. So, and after that first incident that I had, I think I went on and I didn't trust somebody to get pregnant by me, okay, and have my kid. So because of that lack of trust, that had a lot to do with it too. So, so. What the hell? Who cares?
Well, we don't need to be bringing kids in an overcrowded world.
Well, we got way too many of them. And I think that, I love it when I see the government say, oh, you're going to have a kid. Oh, good. We'll give you a tax deduction for the kid. Hey, you have 2 kids, you get a tax deduction for each kid. Hey, you got a 3rd kid, you get a tax deduction for each kid. And I'm thinking, no, what you do is you give them a tax deduction for the first 2 kids, and when they have the 3rd, you start fining them.
That's a great idea.
And when you have the 4th, you fine that. In other words, you want to have another kid, you're going to have to take a little off your taxes every year. That you're going to have to pay a little more into your taxes. But the first 2 kids, those are deductible. And I always get, don't you get bothered when you hear a president or some politician say, and we have to protect the families of America. Well, what about protecting me?
Yeah.
Because I don't have any.
Count.
Yeah, because I didn't shoot my sperm into somebody's pussy. That I suddenly am not a valid citizen of this country. We have to make a better life for families here in America. No, make better life for everybody, and don't encourage
people like us without kids. We have to pay for the schools and
yeah. Now in China, you could only have 1 kid gratis on the state. If you had a 2nd kid, everybody had this idea that if you went out, you were going to have a 2nd kid, you had to get an abortion. And that wasn't true. But you did have to pay a penalty, And so the rich could afford to have more than 1 kid, but the poor couldn't. Okay, so most of the poor went and got abortions rather than have that 2nd kid. So that was what that was all about.
Yeah.
It's not like the state said you have to have an abortion.
But there are parts of the world where people, like Japan, apparently is not producing enough children to keep the population up, and parts of Europe, and they say white people in America are not reproducing much anymore.
Why is that?
They've just stopped. I don't know why, but it's definitely a trend. Yeah, it's way down in Europe.
And yet the minorities are what are slowly becoming the majorities. But
the minorities becoming. I think the minorities are becoming the majorities in Europe in the next 30 to 40 years.
Yeah, but we're getting there. We have quite a Latino population, quite a black population in this country. If you take them all together, they may add up to more people than the whites in this country.
That's going to happen soon.
Yeah. Also, no more redheads after 2050.
No more redheads.
Didn't you hear about that?
No.
Redheaded people are slowly being, what can I call it, bred out of the population. And they say by the year 2050 there'll be no more redheads. I'm not kidding you. You think I'm kidding. That's true.
How do you breed someone out?
Well, it's just, I don't know, somehow genetically we've mutated so that the gene that supplies people with red hair has been being promulgated less and less and less. It's not like they sat around and genetically decided to breed out redheads, but that the redheads will just disappear by 2050, they say.
Well, I never heard of that.
Yeah. Well, I never liked redheads anyways.
I don't even know if I know any.
Because they have freckles, and I don't like freckles either. So.
That works.
They were always a very fair people, I wonder if that's true. We say that here in America, it's going to disappear. How about like Ireland, for instance, where you have a lot of redheaded people?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question.
That may be the only place they remain.
It could be. It could well be. So anyway, that's. And I don't think you find redheads, for instance, in the Mideast countries. I don't think there are any redheaded people there.
No,
they're all for the most part, dark-haired. I think some blonde, but certainly I don't think they have red hair in those countries. So genetically,
we don't need them,
huh?
We don't need them, like you said.
We don't need them. So again, we get back to the question: is that all this is? Is that all there is to this? What was that all about? That's what he said, Brando. What was that all about?
What was that all about?
Yeah, and I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to say, I look back and I go, God, all the years I've spent, and the things I did in those years, and so on and so forth, and wow, I've got a lot of memories, but then I drop dead and I don't have them anymore. So what good are memories? So
yeah. Well, I think that's why religion and everything. I think humans they have to believe there's some point to this life, and maybe there's not. But that's why religions pop up and everything.
They refuse to believe that we're like ants on an anthill.
Yeah.
And that we're simply doing busy work to keep ourselves going until we drop dead.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, in order to create a work ethic for us, they tell us you must work and you must accomplish, okay? And then, of course, you work your ass off and you have nothing to show for it at the end of your life financially. And you go, why did I do that? Well, that's because you were conned into it.
Yeah. I think we get conned a lot in our life, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. Conned like crazy. It's weird. It's strange. But, I wonder, and I've had a pretty good career. I really can't complain. I can complain now because I'm still capable of doing what I do, but nobody wants me to do it because I'm too old to do it.
And we live in the age of age discrimination is the one bias that's tolerated.
Well, I kept doing this till I was, 73, 74,
mm-hmm.
something like that, I did this till I was 73. Most people in my business are out of it by that time. Most of them don't make it past into their 50s in broadcasting, Only the lucky ones, and I was one of the lucky ones. In fact, I was out of the business for a couple of years, and then I got back into it. And I was in my 60s when I got back into it. I was like 64. So I was very fortunate to be able to get back into it. But, age discrimination is the biggest discrimination in this country, and we really don't, we don't play up to it. Do you feel you're discriminated against? Of course, because you're a comic. They really want the young comics, right?
Yeah, especially... not that TV is a big factor anymore, but they didn't want. When I was doing Letterman, I got on, but they said they really didn't like unknown comics over 35.
They didn't. Who said that
to
you?
Eddie Brill.
Eddie Brill.
And that's what came down from the network. Yeah.
That came down from the network?
Yeah.
Wow. They don't want that little factoid to be known.
I don't know. They don't seem to hide it very much. They're pretty open about it. They'll just say, you're too old. Can you imagine, like, oh, we can't use you, you're black. If they said that, they'd be sued.
Well, everybody says I just shouldn't admit my age. I shouldn't say I'm 78, but somehow I can't lie about my age. I refuse to lie about my age. This is what I am. This is what 78 is. You know?
Well, there was just a court finding the other day about the Internet Movie Database because some actors sued because they didn't, they have their birth date on there, a lot of them.
Yeah.
People put it on.
They didn't want it on.
They sued because they thought they having their birth date on there was keeping them from getting to work, and the court ruled, though, it was a free speech issue, and they could still keep the birth date on there.
Wow. Hey, look, we've run out of time.
And yes, in more ways than one.
That's what happens when you're having fun. Larry, Bubbles, thanks.
Always good to talk to you, my friend.
Bye, Bibbles.
Bye-bye. Bibbles.
Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before. This is GABNET, the Great American Broadcast Network.
And there we go. There we go, folks. Oh, I got there's something tinny about the sound coming out of there today. I don't know why. Let me see here. Let me listen to that again. Let me hear another one. There we go.
This is GABNET, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Okay. I just thought everything was sounding tinny. But you know what it is? I got some new earphones for my iPad or for my iPod or for my iPhone or whatever that thing is that I have. And it sounds so good that these earphones, which are Etymotics and really some of the best in the business, because they have this thing, this spongy thing, and you do this, and you kind of curl it like that and put it in your ear, and then it seals around the ear canal and gives you really good sound. But for some reason, those new earphones sound so good that I don't even deal with it. I love the way these sound. So anyway, let me see here. Let me get the Skype lines going. By the way, I did something a little different tonight. I don't know if it worked at all. And I don't know if we got any people involved as a result of it, but I went over and on my Facebook page started doing a live feed of the audio from the Facebook page. Why did I do that? Because I also had a sign saying, "Hey, we're doing this thing live over at on video. If you just go over to this place, so that if people went to my Facebook page looking for the show, and it would also send out a message to them that there was something on there anyway, and they would check it out." So I figured, and I got a lot of people writing me going, "Where are you now? We don't get you. You're not on Facebook anymore. You're not doing your show on Facebook." Well, we're doing it, but we're doing it on Facebook Live, because if you're watching it now on Facebook Live, having watched this thing over at Facebook Live, you can see that the quality is so much better than it was. Okay? So anyway, I'm sitting here now just bullshitting with you, waiting for people to call, which is very simple. If you want to know how to call this program, for the most part, we use a thing called Skype. Okay? And if you go over to gabnet.net, which is our page, and you won't miss any of the video of the program because it's running over there right now as well, you just go over there and read the right-hand side of the page. And there's a whole tutorial on how to get Skype and how to call us using Skype and how to just call us using a regular phone. It's all on the right-hand side of that page. It's very simple. It's so simple that it took me 2 minutes to write it. Okay, that's how simple it is. So it's not a big, complicated process, and we would love to hear from you and have you call the program. Let me see here. Where is somebody going to call tonight? Let's see here. I heard from Patrick, who says he isn't going to be able to call most of this week because he's got a lot of friends coming in. So we're not going to hear from him. And I imagine we'll hear from Phil, but he usually starts calling by this time. Scott, I know you're listening out there. Why don't you give us a call? Should I shame him into it? Jeff, give us a call. And also all you other, I saw that Johnny Perulis, Perulis, yes, Johnny Perulis called The Exchange. So why don't you call us, because you called us before, Johnny. We'd love to have you on again. Meanwhile, I think I'm coming down with something. Either that or the air is changing. But I'm currently going through all kinds of things, trying to get my medicine changed over to somewhere else. Well, wait a minute. I'll talk about that in a little bit here. Let me go get Ray Renati. If Ray were the only guy that called tonight, ladies and gentlemen, it would still be a great show. So how are you doing, Ray?
I'm doing fine.
Yeah.
I'm having trouble with my... Can you see me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, there I am. Okay, got it.
Here comes Johnny Perulis. Hello, Johnny. You there? Oh, wait a minute. Let's see here. There we go. There's Johnny over. You're both wearing caps.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
wearing
easier
a
with
cap.
my headphones, with my earphones.
Yeah. Well, you've got a full head of hair, right? You don't wear a cap to, like.
I got hair. Yeah.
You know, I do. I do this so I don't frighten little children. You know, things like that.
Yeah. Screw up your white balance.
How are you doing, Johnny?
I am fine. I missed you. I just heard you describe some of us that were confused by the Facebook announcement, and I was one of them. And anyways, I'm glad to be back here.
Well,
it's
just Facebook is so much better because once you've got that page that it's on, you can make a tab out of it, keep it in your browser, and whenever we go on, it just starts on its own. You know, it really is a much better system. Plus, the picture quality, if you may notice, folks, is just astounding.
And YouTube.
Yeah, on YouTube.
Not Facebook.
No, not on Facebook. Facebook was pretty terrible. Pretty terrible. Yeah. I've had all kinds of problems with it. So I thought that tonight I would send out a video on Facebook, which is currently running, saying, "Come on over here." You know,
yeah, good idea.
Us, you know,
yeah.
But
it's great to hear Bubs, Alex. I just want to say, I really enjoy. I
love talking to Bubs. And the thing is, he's a vehicle for me to talk rather than just sit here and bat my chops for a half hour. You know.
Yeah. And he listens and he responds, but he doesn't try to take over the conversation.
Hello.
And he's fun. And he's funny when he says stuff.
Hello to Jeff. Jeff Stein, ladies and gentlemen, is in Connecticut.
Hello.
Connecticut. And
Thank you.
How was your weekend?
Good. The weather was beautiful.
Was it?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Did I go out? Yeah, I went out on Saturday. We went to see somebody who hasn't been feeling well. So I went out then. But otherwise, I haven't gone out. Otherwise, I don't know. I can't get myself to leave the house, the apartment, which is kind of like a house. It's large enough to be a house. So. So anyway, boy. So anyway, what was I going to say? Did anybody? I hate to get into the president this early in the show. But,
let's talk about guns.
But why not? And I'm sure we'll hear from other people tonight. There's no reason why we won't hear from Phil, because Phil didn't write me and say he's not going to be able to make it. He usually always writes me. People who are regulars have a tendency to write me and say, "Hey, Alex, I'm not going to be on the show tonight. You know, it'll be a Patrick-free night tonight." But I didn't get anything from Phil, so I assume he's going to call. Anyway, I don't want to get into the president so early, but there are a couple of things. Number one. There was a documentary they did on the History Channel on Putin, all about him, his growing up and how he became president and how he stayed president and then all the people he's murdered. And you begin to realize what a absolutely dangerous person Vladimir Putin is, and that his desire is to undermine the West. Okay? Yet our president is giving him blowjobs constantly, you know, and I don't, you know, you'll never hear him say we have to go after Putin. Putin's the most dangerous thing in the world. That you will never hear out of our president, because I think they got pictures of him being urinated by Russian hookers.
You mean him and Putin together? Like in the same hotel room?
Well, you know, they do have like secure. Hello, Bob Ebert.
Hello.
They do have what do you call it? Security cameras in all those hotel rooms in Moscow, and I'm sure there is a video somewhere of our good president being peed on, which
I'm sure
it's rumored went on when he was over there. And now it looks like Mueller is looking into his Russian connections, his Russian business dealings. There's something real fishy in all of that. But the thing I wanted to say was the other day he made a remark about the shooting, which, you know, was his cause celeb for the week because he thought his ideas were just so superb, like arming teachers, you know, not letting a 18-year-old buy an assault rifle. Okay, you have to be 21 to own an assault rifle, which, you know, you really got to ask the question, and it's an interesting question to ask. What the fuck is that all about? I mean, do you really think rifles are a good thing to have? You know, I mean, is there any real need for them? So anyway, he then makes a statement. If I was there, I would have run in, even if I didn't have a weapon, and stop it. Who is this super president we've got here? Who is this? Who is this guy?
Trump man.
Trump man. Yeah. It was just amazing to me that he said, I would run in there even if I didn't have a weapon. What are you, stupid? You know, oh no, I'm brave and I can make this kind of statement because I never will have to run into a building like that. And by the way, I've got bone spurs. Yes, Bob Ebert.
There's a recording of him on Howard Stern talking about how an 80-something-year-old man fell and there was blood all over his marble floors and he couldn't handle the blood and he had to get away from it. So I'm sure he could go charging in and shooting.
Oh, yeah, right.
And then he was bragging about how he forgot to call the next day to see if the guy was all right. And he was like, because I didn't really care, I didn't really care. So I didn't call.
This brings up a really interesting topic because, I'm in the trades. I've been in the building trades for 34 years and more. And I was recently at the Contractors Licensing Board in the state. And so I got together with other long-term contractors like myself. And one of these guys had done the mansion of someone who is in the news almost every day. Okay. Yeah. I think I'll keep the name confidential because the point I'm trying to make is not about the personality. It's about the type of lifestyle some of these people live. And this guy wanted the contractor to set giant granite stones without grout joints or something, and the guy was trying to make the case that no, we file AIA follow AIA standards and TCNA standards, and it will just crack, it will fall apart. And this guy insisted on, this famous celebrity insisted on having it done in a very particular way suited to him. And the contractor said no, he just wouldn't do it because it will fall apart. So I was, I kind of admire this celebrity in some ways. And, just to hear that side of him, that he's kind of a screwball and, a very demanding person, I think if you really want the truth, go to America's Workers and you're going to get it all.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I don't know what to think of Super President, but I really
the Marvel comic character.
Well, I think in a way there was maybe a rush to judgment with this cop who was outside the school, because to listen to his side of the story, he heard the shots. He took a position because he felt the shots were coming from outside, not inside the school. And so he took a position. which would probably be a natural inclination if you didn't know where the bullets were coming from. And of course, if bullets were firing somewhere, you could very easily think it was outside rather than inside. And then it turns out a lot of other cops showed up and didn't go inside.
I heard they were told not to go in because they didn't have body cams on. Somebody ordered them to not go in without the body cams.
Yeah. I mean, it was
which seems ridiculous.
Well, it was a clusterfuck. Yeah. There's no question about that, you know. But I just wonder what the fuck is going on there, and is that one cop who was outside being kind of treated badly, you know?
Probably.
Yeah, because I mean he's being a scapegoat on this whole thing. You know, he's part of the woulda, coulda, shoulda squad.
You know, people that want to judge him would have to have extreme experiences, you know, like be under fire themselves, or being shot at, or being in a really dangerous situation. Very few of us know what that feels like. Oh. And I think, you know, if you're going to start judging that guy, you have to have some experience, you know, with extreme events like that.
Yeah. Yes, Jeff.
You know, I spent a little bit of time in Broward County.
Yeah.
Which is where this was.
Right.
And I mean, it must have been 30 years ago or so. And at the time, the area was expanding tremendously. And a lot of people were coming from New York, New Jersey, whatever, Pennsylvania, and moving there. And obviously there was a lot of, you know, retired kind of people. But there were also a lot of young people who came here. Mm-hmm. And they were looking for jobs. And one of the jobs that they needed was police.
Yeah.
And I think I kind of know some cousins and whatever, and I never expected them to be cops, but all of a sudden they needed a job. They were in Florida.
Yeah.
And they became cops. And now it's 25 years later, and they got a bunch of kids being shot, and maybe they never had to have that kind of real training and motivation to do that kind of thing.
Well, Phil, of course, was a reserve policeman. Did you?
Who almost arrested me?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
When I first got on, a Greenpeacer.
That's right.
Really? Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of the first nights I was on.
Wouldn't that have been wonderful if the person on the panel got arrested by another person on the panel? But
I never did get arrested. Some of my colleagues did. They let me off because I was a media person for Greenpeace. I had a big, TV camera, and so I think that's what.
The boat, I think it might have been was Chevron boat or something that they took over. They put a big banner down the side.
That might have been different. Maybe we didn't do that. We had the Rainbow Warrior was in town at the time.
I'm familiar with the Rainbow Warrior.
It
almost hit me in my boat on. July 4th, I was watching the fireworks in the bay, and my anchor was out, and their anchor was out, and all of a sudden their stern started coming over my way. I thought I was going to get.
This is all sounding very pornographic. The way you describe it. No, but what I was going to say, Phil, is we were talking about this cop who now he's telling his side of the story, and his side of the Yeah, Scott Peterson. You remember that name immediately because it's the same name as the guy who killed his wife.
I was on that case too in the bay.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
But anyway,
we found the baby.
You found the baby?
No, the baby was found in Richmond on the Richmond Marsh, and I had to go out and get GPS coordinates for the detectives to testify as to the exact coordinates of where they found it.
So you didn't have to go find the baby or anything like that?
No, I went out a couple days later to the spot.
Yeah. I guess Scott Peterson's still in waiting to be executed, which will never happen in California.
He's at San Quentin,
Yeah. I think he's going to appeal again.
Is he? Well,
For sure,
they
yeah.
always appeal. I mean, you know.
Yeah, I heard something about. I live right near there. In fact, I don't know, about 4 miles away from San Quentin, and I did hear some news about that he was going to appeal. Right.
Well, I mean, I have a guy I know who is on death row, and if my estimation is right now, I haven't written him in many years now, but I think he's been there almost 25 years.
Wow.
So it's not like they're getting around to executing people in California.
No, life is tough when cops start using the bad guys' names.
Yeah. Yeah, it's my cop name. It's my show business name. No, but anyway, the question about the Scott Peterson, not the one that killed his wife and the kid. Or did he kill his wife too? Yeah. Did he?
He killed the wife, the kid, and the wife was pregnant.
Yeah, the wife was pregnant.
So it was
And the baby exited the wife's body over time.
Oh, I see. In other words, they never had the child. It was in her. I see.
She was very close to her due date, though. It was just a few days away.
Yeah. Well,
sad.
Yeah. But anyway, we're getting back to the other Scott Peterson.
And the training, and I know what you're going to say, so say it.
No, what he says is that he actually did what he was told to do, is that he heard the shots. He figured they were coming from outside. So he took a position, a defensive position, and waited to see what was happening. That's his story.
That is what they're trained to do now.
Yeah.
As of the training, you see, it used to be, and I was under the impression, because I had never been in a school standoff, I was under the impression that you formed a perimeter, and then you waited for SWAT to come, and you made sure that nobody ran out of the perimeter, and then the guys came in with the shields and the special stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I was wrong. Now, what nationally, what they're saying is cops should come in and get in a diamond formation and then work their way down towards the shots of the shooter. Well, that's suicide. Even though that's what they're saying to do, what the real guys do is they do a leapfrog. If you have two guys, you go towards the sound of the fire of the shots, but one guy gets cover and covers, and then the other guy leaps over to another spot of concealment and cover and covers where the line of fire would be, and then the other guy leapfrogs. So that's how they would do it. Now, if there's only one guy, which is what they're saying, it makes sense that he took a position of cover and made his way towards the sound of the gunfire.
Well, he says, according to him, he says the sound that, as he heard it, was out. He thought was outside,
and it was, wasn't it?
No, it was inside.
Oh, I thought somebody got shot in the soccer field or something, and that led them to believe.
No, the only thing. This is an interesting thing. He did try to shoot. There were students leaving the building, running out of the building. He did try to shoot them by trying to shoot through the windows, but the windows wouldn't break because they're hurricane proof.
So he was inside shooting out towards the students.
Yeah, but
out from the rooms. That's right, because he went in and then he dropped his gun on the second floor on a balcony. So you're right. The shooter was inside.
Yeah. So but he was inside. But according to Scott Peterson, he thought the shots were coming from outside the school. So he took a defensive position and then waited till he could figure out exactly where the shooting was coming from.
Well, they're saying there was over 100 shots fired, and he should have figured it out by then.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you and I would both have to sit there and listen to 100 rounds going off inside a school to know whether we would think they could possibly be coming from outside as well. I would think that there would be a confusion in that because sometimes sounds don't sound like where they're really coming from.
That's true. You know,
I'll tell you, I have a thing here where I have a smoke detector and
the battery,
and a gas detector, right? And the battery was going low. Right. So one night I'm sitting here, and in this room I'm hearing beep, beep, beep. And I went looking all over the room. I was picking things up. I was looking. I was turning machines off to see if it was one of my machines making the sound. Nothing. Beep, beep. Finally, I go out. Oh, hey, it's coming from the bathroom. And I go into the bathroom, and I look all in the bathroom. Finally, it was coming from all the way down the hall. But I couldn't tell where that sound was coming from.
You know, Peterson's excuse is a reasonable excuse. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the story is with the other 4 guys that were hunkering down behind.
Somebody
the cars.
said, didn't you say, Ray, that was it you that said that they didn't want them to go in because they didn't have their body cams on?
Yeah, I heard that too. That they were ordered not to go in because they didn't have body cams on.
I didn't hear anything about that.
I heard it. I heard somebody say it on some talk show. Yeah. I don't know if it's true.
But now, wait a minute. Forbin writes and says, student witnesses said it was obvious shooting was inside and Peterson was frozen. It says, do you people read the news? Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And if you heard the news and if you read the news, you would also know Peterson's side of the story. And, you know, I don't know who you believe in a situation like that because it's a clusterfuck when that starts happening. And I don't think that I think the memories of a lot of the students are not clear as to what they saw or didn't see, because in the fog of that kind of horrible situation, you don't have time to connoiter where you are or where things are happening or who's doing what to who.
Wasn't there a lot of student videos that showed the Peterson immobilized? Or
I don't think so.
If he was immobilized, that means he wasn't moving towards anything. And he was supposed to move towards the sounds of gunfire. And
well, okay. Think about yourself in this situation, Phil. Yeah. You're outside that school, and all of a sudden there's some gunshots. You don't know where they're coming from. They sound like they're coming from outside the school, but they could
sound like firecrackers.
Well, anyway, you don't know where it's happening. Now your inclination is, yes, I got to do something about this, but I can't go in and start shooting. There are kids in that building, you know. So
not necessarily. You don't go in and you start shooting. Yeah. You go in and you see if you can get an eye on the shooter, and then if you can get a shot.
We see the fault is that the students should have been armed, and then this would have never happened.
Yeah, you know that's.
Yeah, I love. By the way. Are you ready for this? Here's a question I have for all of you. Okay, it's a ethical question, and I'm probably on the wrong side of this so far as Phil is concerned. But Amazon, is it Amazon? Yeah, I think it's Amazon. But Apple TV and YouTube, and I believe Amazon, all carry the NRA channel. Oh, Roku carries the that was it. That's the other one. Roku carry the NRA channel, which is really a hoot to watch because it's people sitting there stalking deer, and then later on it's someone else talking about his Second Amendment rights, and it's a very right-wing channel, which it shouldn't be because I don't think this is a right-wing issue. But anyway, I watched this channel. And I said to myself, I should write Roku and say, how dare you have this channel on with all that's going on? Write Apple TV. And then I thought about it for a second, and I said, hey, I've got a channel on Roku. Nobody stopped me from having it. I'm sitting here with my political opinion. Would it be right of me to protest the NRA channel being on Roku, being on Apple TV, when they have the same access to it that I do?
That's what I said about the credit card companies cutting.
No, that's a different story. That's a whole different question. Well, that was the thing I brought up the other night about why don't the credit card companies say that we're not going to give credit cards to gun stores. You know, and that would certainly slow things down a lot.
Isn't that restraint of trade?
No.
No,
all the rental car companies are not going to give.
No, it isn't. You can take the position that, in your opinion, what these people are selling are lethal items, and you don't want your credit cards to be used for the purchase of a lethal item. I think you would a bunch of people would have to sue you, and you would probably have to defend yourself, but I think you'd win the case because you have the right to do business with, we have signs in restaurants. We have a right to refuse service to anyone. That's been a common business mainstay for years. What do you think, Ray? Would you?
Well, there are 4 rental car companies that have discontinued their NRA discounts.
Yeah.
You used to be able to get a discount if you were an NRA member, and they stopped them today.
Yeah.
And they all I think the 4 big ones was Hertz, National, Avis, yeah. And I just wanted to say about the gun sounds. I don't know if this cop froze or not, but when I used to hunt a lot, and if I got separated from my dad or my grandfather or whatever, I mean, sometimes it's really hard to figure out where the hell the sound is coming from. I mean, you're looking all over for your friends, and you might be walking in the wrong direction.
Yeah,
because everything echoes all over the place. It's really weird.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that they're being a little. To begin with, this guy was a cop for 33 years. Not like he wasn't. Didn't know what he was doing. It wasn't like he was a rent-a-cop they got last week and put a gun on his holster and on his belt and said, "Okay, you're now a security guard." This guy was a cop for 33 years.
6 years he worked in that school, knew those kids, watched them grow up, and if he stood and did nothing, that was
no. But he didn't. The question is, did he stand and do nothing, or was he? Didn't he? It could have been he didn't know what to do. Okay, well, I mean, it's very easy for us to sit here, or for you to sit there, Phil, and hypothesize about a whole bunch of things, but you don't know what you would do in that situation. You think you do, but you don't know
training.
You don't. But he was probably trained too, but you don't know what you're going to do till it happens. You're gonna question where the bullets are coming from. You're going to take a position not to keep yourself safe, but so that you can at least have a chance to shoot whoever is doing the shooting if they come out of the building.
Well, keeping yourself safe is important, too, because if you get killed, then you can't do your job.
Yeah.
So you don't want to just be cannon fodder or a sacrifice.
So all I'm saying is we can sit here and we can, it's like our president just, the thing that started this whole discussion was me being galled by the fact that our president said, if I was there, I would have gone into that building even if I didn't have a gun. This is a guy who got bone spurs and couldn't go to Vietnam, okay? So, I mean, well, I can't go into that building and those kids, these bone spurs are killing me today.
Well, at least he was being honest with himself, and that's what he wanted to do.
No, but I mean, this whole John Wayne attitude that he was taking was just appalling.
The whole thing was ridiculous. I mean, and it's so self-serving. I mean, why did he even have to say it? It's like
stupid thing to say.
It is just stupid.
Wait a minute. Did Phil just say that?
After the NRA stuff that got pulled with the credit card companies, I joined the NRA on Sunday.
You what?
I joined the NRA on Sunday. I hadn't been a member since the late 70s.
How much does it cost to join?
I took a lifetime membership, which was $1,500, and it's $25 a quarter or $100 a year for 15 years. I figure if I die, they won't get all the money. But I will get the NRA jacket, which
oh God!
Oh my God!
So you really did that?
I don't know if he's jacking us or
I think he's jacking us.
Yeah,
right.
I want to see your jacket.
When they send me a jacket, I'll wear it.
I don't.
Hey, but I'm glad you brought.
By the way, speaking of which, I heard something very sad today.
Yeah, what's that?
They have 4 kids who go to school now. Bulletproof backpacks.
I saw that. They've had it for a while, but it's a good thing to advertise right now.
Hey, that's the answer.
Well, suppose
the bulletproof backpack. That's not going to do anything for you. You need a vest. Backpack. It's just going to wobble around. Someone's going to shoot you.
I can just see the average American home now. Okay, dear, do you have your lunch? Yes. Do you have your Kevlar? Yes.
When you're running from the sound of the gunfire, you usually have your back to the gun. That's why bulletproof backpack might be a really good tactical investment.
I think all kids should just wear full body armor.
Listen, I've seen some of those
Like
backpacks, and I've seen how many books are in those backpacks. They're bulletproof already.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, Jeff.
If my teacher had to have a gun when I was in high school, there's a good chance I could have been shot. Just by the way some of those teachers didn't like me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you don't act up in class, you won't get shot.
Well, I love.
That's what I say. I want to get visual.
I love Pierre, whatever his name is, the head of the NRA. Wayne LaPierre.
Devil spawn.
Yeah, he says, the saying they constantly say, the only thing that will stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. But, until that kid went into that school and started shooting, he was a good guy with a gun.
He was and he wasn't. Did you hear a story that the school system...
Schrodinger's terrorist?
No, they were being paid not to report crime. That there was a 2013 Obama money grants. If you could reduce crime, it had something to do with the sheriff's department and the schools. And if you could reduce crime, they would actually give you a grant. So the attitude was, why report these kids? Try and handle it internally, and don't get them a record. And
well, if that's the case. Is that Obama's fault? No, it's not Obama's fault. I think the idea was noble. It was just that if the people were doing this, they were being felonious about it.
Okay, so what happened was there were tons of contacts, especially with this individual, Cruz, that didn't get reported. Now, if those got reported, then he wouldn't have been able to be a good guy with a gun because those crimes would have been reported. Are you familiar with that story that came out over the weekend?
No, I'm not.
I'll try and find it.
Well, I mean, but let's say for a moment it's true. To begin with, it isn't Obama's fault. The idea is a noble one.
I said it was an Obama era.
I know. But believe me, give Trump enough time, he'll blame it on Obama. But the fact is that it was, I think, an admirable idea. The fact that maybe these people down in Broward County were a little bit felonious about it and said, well, let's not report this stuff and deal with it internally so we can get the grants. Right. I don't think anybody second-guessed that anybody would be that devious.
Okay. Jeff, am I right about that observation? Did you hear it?
I heard part of it, but I don't have enough information to give you a definitive answer as to what it was.
They talk about the fog of war, and this is a kind of like the fog of war. It's everything gets muddled, And what I was saying is that so am I right in saying, hey, I'm not going to complain about the fact that Roku is carrying the NRA channel, because they do.
It's a free speech issue.
They also carry the Gabnet channel.
Yeah, and they're very popular. If I might be so bold as suggest that the protest actions directed at the NRA are pointless. There's no way the NRA is going to go out of business. Weapons industry is huge. It's colossal.
Well, I've got to tell you, I watch this channel, and it is slick.
Yeah.
It is really slick. They even had some people, one guy, black guy, who did a commentary that was very persuasive. I didn't agree with him. I was almost going to record it and play it here, and I still might because I know I can find it. But it was all very slick. The graphics are slick. I mean, it looks almost better than Fox. I mean, it's really amazing.
Well, I think, it's easy to protest the NRA, and I think the protest effort is going to be really misplaced. If you really want to go after somebody, remember that line from Sean Connery in Untouchables of Kevin Costner? If you really want to go after Capone, well, this is that kind of situation. You go after the goddamn senators and congressmen in Washington who are really stopping meaningful gun control
But
reform.
I do think, Phil, though, and Johnny, that the desire to not do business with the NRA on the part of companies is a moral decision, and they have the right as a company to make that moral decision. I would never take advertising from the NRA if they even if they ever offered it. I've been on radio stations. Although, wait a minute, I had a policy though. There were some right-wingers who bought time on my show when there were elections going on. And
those? If you take the left, don't you have to take the right?
Well, yeah, you have to take the advertising. But the thing that made me say, hey, I guess it's okay, is that I said that I don't deny somebody the right to advertise as long as their product doesn't hurt anybody or if it doesn't live up to what they're advertising, I don't want to run it, and I don't want to run it if it hurts somebody. But otherwise, I can't make a moral judgment on the product. And I think the same is not true of these companies, who basically they have a public to play to and to agree or to coddle. And I don't think they like the idea that they are giving the NRA discounts. That this is just not right. Now, my idea about the fact that credit card companies should make a policy, say in Amex, we won't let our cards be used to buy guns. That's a moral issue, and it's a moral issue I think a company has a right to make. What do I think it's right or wrong? I don't think there's anything wrong with it personally, but that's, of course, Phil, because of where I stand on this whole issue.
Wasn't the credit card issue like putting your logo on Visa or MasterCard? Like REI does this all the time. I'm a member of REI. I get credit card solicitations.
Well, they had a credit. They had a credit card company, or a couple of them, that actually had NRA credit cards.
My store has a credit card.
Yeah, but it has to be backed by Visa or Amex or something.
I'm backed by Synchrony Bank. Yeah, and the credit card can only be used at my store. But
this is the credit card companies, and like they'll go. I'm sure, I don't know if there's a SAG-AFTRA credit card, but they could go to SAG-AFTRA and say, "Do you want a credit card with your name on it?" And you would say, "Sure," and I could go use it anywhere. Well, they were doing business with the NRA this way. It was an NRA credit card, and they've said they're going to stop issuing them. Yeah,
you get an Oakland Raiders credit card.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Alex?
Yes, Ray.
Just to go back a little bit, I did find the source about they were told not to go in because they didn't have the body cameras. It was reported by Laura Ingraham on Fox News. She has a source that said the deputies were told not to go in at the scene of the shooting. Were told to not to enter the school unless their body cameras were turned on. And then we found out that the deputies did not have body cameras, so they did not enter the building or engage the shooter.
Because they didn't have body
cams. Did she name her source?
She did not. She did not name the source.
Are we to believe Laura Ingraham?
Well, she's very reliable.
She's very reliable.
I never believe a word she said. So after reading that, I think it's probably bullshit. She's the least believable person on that channel as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. And I think Fox keeps saying, who can we hire that's even more disgusting than the person that left?
I can't stand her.
By the way, over at NBC, what's her name? The one who went to NBC from Fox.
Megyn
Kelly. NBC's having a great deal of buyer's remorse. Her ratings are worse than they were for a year ago. I can't remember who the woman was. I think Savannah Guthrie and the weatherman, the black weatherman. They were the host of the show, and
the guy who was
they had 25% higher ratings than she's getting, and she's supposedly the set, they say, is a toxic situation They just say she's horrible. She's just a terrible person. And then staffers have been seen to cry on set. Okay.
Did she date Matt Lauer?
No. Even Matt Lauer wouldn't fuck her.
That didn't matter.
I wouldn't.
Is her show on a morning show?
Yeah, it's a morning show. Yeah, and she's trying to be touchy-feely. She's trying to do and cooking segments and things like that. And I don't think, to begin with, I don't think that's what was NBC hiring. Gee, she gets ratings. We could have her in a sitcom and she would get ratings. No. What she was doing at Fox got her ratings because she fit in with Fox. And she played to that audience, and that audience went out of their way to listen to her every night. So they're having great buyer's remorse over there right now. And chances are she's not going to last. And the latest word is neither is Lester Holt, because ABC has taken #1 in the news race.
Hey, Alex, I got a question for you, because you're really in tune with this industry. What is the mechanism that cable broadcasters use to get metadata, to get feedback on how many people are watching? I mean, do they get some actual data
what do you mean, internet,
the cable?
Internet?
No, internet. I could watch the internet, and I could look at your stats.
Internet, I know how many people are listening at any given moment, and it's depressing. So I don't even pay attention to it. So.
No, but I mean for cable TV, when they say, Walking Dead has 5 million viewers or 4 million viewers, how do they know? I mean,
Walking is not a cable show. It's a network show.
What? Walking Dead? No, it's not.
Wait a minute. It's a cable AMC, show. Isn't it?
Yeah, it's AMC, a cable show.
Therefore,
it's a cable show.
How do you know? The same way I used to do it, a people meter. If I was watching, I had a people meter.
They take a sampling, is what it is. Yeah. It's not an accurate number. It's a sampling.
So it's a formula.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to have one of those meters from Nielsen.
Nielsen ratings.
Yeah, and I had it for 2 years, and you'd wear it, and if you weren't walking around with it, there was a sensor, and then they would send you an email that you forgot to wear it or something, but you were supposed to wear it all the time.
Every station you would listen to, TV or radio, sends out a sub-signal saying what station it is. So in the old days, you used to write down what you listened to, and you didn't remember, so you then at the end of the week made up what you listened to. Here, if you change the station for even a second or two, it'll record that, because it picks up a new signal.
If you would have put that signal in your show, I could have gotten at least the one people meter thing.
Yeah, but the thing is, even though it is quite accurate as to what that person is watching, there's still only a handful of them. So it's the theory of, if you've got a whole barrel of peas and you grab 10 peas out of the whole barrel at various points and look at them, you can tell whether they're what condition they're in. Oh, look, there's one bad one, but there are 9 good ones, so most of this is okay. It's a sampling.
Yeah, they figure they sample so many people, and therefore the percentage of those people that are watching gives them an indication.
Yeah. And then there's, by the way, let me just add one other thing, Jeff, and then I'll go to you. They add one other factor now that they didn't add before, and that's the show date plus 3 days. In case there are people who watched on their DVR, in case there are people who watch reruns, things like that. So that the plus 3 number is the cumulative total of who probably watched that show during its run. Yes, Jeff?
Well, I think the other part of the problem that is never very good on these statistics is a lot of people turn on their TV and then they go and take a shower, and then they're talking on the phone to somebody else. A lot of people just turn the TV on and whatever's there is on.
Well, there was the old story about somebody who left the house and the dog kept watching TV.
Yeah,
and so because there was a dog in the house, it sensed that there was somebody there.
I actually put the people meter on the dog. And I left the TV on. Hey, it was called the Promise Program, and it was set up by Eric Holder and Obama. Mm-hmm. And it came out in an interview with Jake Tapper.
Yeah. I don't see that that's necessarily a bad thing that they did. I think that they probably hoped that people would be more honest than that. That the idea.
Yeah, but the end result was crimes didn't get reported that would have exposed this kid.
Yeah, but on the other hand, these are supposedly police, and they're supposed to be honest.
And it wasn't just the police; it was the school not reporting it to the police.
Yeah, boy.
So the police didn't get their hands on it. The school had the ability to decide whether to handle it within the school or report it to the police.
Well, I've kept saying, we've been talking about this, for 2 weeks now, that all of this is woulda, coulda, shoulda. The fact was 17 people got killed, and that's the fact. Okay? And
what?
What about? No, what I'm saying is it's all woulda, coulda, shoulda. It's like, oh, well, where could we have gone right? Well, you didn't.
So but they study the past to figure out what needs to be done in the future.
Yeah, and somehow we never learn from it, do we?
No, we never do.
Never do. Yes, Ray.
Yeah, and not to be a stick in the mud, but all of these gun shootings are just a small subset of the entire casualties that we suffer in the United States from gun violence and accidental shootings and suicide. I mean, there's just so many of them as compared to these school shootings.
Well,
and we don't even talk about that.
There's an astounding amount of deaths as a result of guns. Many of them accidental, Yeah. But there are enough that it is. I would say there was something the CDC would have to refer to as a disease.
Yeah.
And you go to people say, well, what are you going to do about it? Well, Australia didn't say that. They did something about it. And I think that the incident happened in 1996, where the school, I think there were like 35 kids killed in a
school.
And the Conservative Prime Minister of Australia helped pass stringent laws. It's getting past Bob's bedtime. He got a law passed, and I mean, you're still allowed to own. You can't own, things like
you can have shotguns and things.
Huh?
I think you can have shotguns.
Well, yes, but you have to. There's a 30-day waiting period to get one. You cannot buy an AK-47. The assault weapons are not sold to anybody.
I heard a good argument on AK-47.
And by the way, in all that time, they've had 0 school shootings. 0.
Well, they didn't have that many to begin with. I'm sorry, Bob. Go ahead.
Yes, Bob.
The gentleman up in the upper left corner, at least on my screen, was saying, there's a lot more deaths that go under the radar because the school shootings take all the press, but toddlers have killed more people in the United States than terrorists.
Oh, God. Because they pick up loaded guns.
They pick up loaded guns, yeah. And I know what you... yes, Jeff.
Well, I do know a couple of police besides Phil.
Yeah.
One of them happens to be a woman.
Yeah.
And she's a very good cop, and she does training, and she's been there a long time. And she got shot by her own gun. in the office by accident.
Mm-hmm.
Where the
A lot of guys, when they go to the bathroom and they drop their pants to sit in the toilet, and the gun belt drops because it's attached to the pants with these keepers.
I don't know what happened. Was apparently, from what I understand, the gun went on totally by accident. And the other part is they happen to be in the police office, and it was all videoed.
Yeah.
By their own policy. And she was able to validate that she's not a moron and that it was a total accident. Of course, she's still okay now, but it took her, I don't know, 6 months to recover being shot in her leg.
There's a video on YouTube where a cop is talking to kids about gun safety, and as he's talking in front of the classroom, he shoots himself in the leg, and then he tries to remain all calm. He says, "And you see, this is an example of what happens when you carry a Glock pistol and don't know how to set the safety." And he's like bleeding out, you know, and then he's like, "Excuse me, I think we need to end this now."
Hey, the class is over.
I was talking to a guy Sunday, cop, and I said, some people say that AR-15s and that military-style weapons shouldn't be given out available to the public. And, the argument is that when they wrote the Second Amendment, they had muskets. And so he said, well, the military had muskets, and so the populace had muskets at that time. And you wanted to be able to meet the same amount of firepower that the military had. So now that the military has M16s and M4s, there's a civilian version, which is the AR-15 semi-automatic, that looks like the military version, and that's why people want it, because it equals or comes close to equaling what the military has. So it made sense. That
no, it made sense to you, Phil. It does not make sense.
We need tanks and drones and something like that too. Fighter jets.
We got drones.
I worked on B-52s. I don't think you was one.
I think I might have mentioned I didn't have the money. I didn't have the money or the place to put it, but when the USSR fell, they made available diesel submarines that I could have bought for $50,000.
Damn!
and
you blew it.
Yeah, I blew it. Yeah, I probably should have gotten one, but all the gauges were in Russian, so what was I going to do?
Would you take it to school?
Yeah. Especially in these flooded waters that they have in the Midwest right now. But
hey, you know how I said last week I could just go down and buy a gun without. What they do is they change the pistol grip and they put another grip on there, and then they take the regular safety off and they put a different safety, and then it becomes not one of the guns that they have to have a holding period on. So it's just a modified version that will do the same damage. They just get around the law.
Put something called a button safety or
it's one you can just use with your thumb on the same side as the trigger.
Right.
And then they change it. They take the pistol grip off and they just put a straight grip on.
Right.
And then they can just sell it right there to you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure if they make you wait some period.
Oh, 10 days.
10
days? Yeah. Yeah, 10 days.
Yeah, I just think that maybe, we should look very strongly at what Australia did. Obviously whatever they did worked.
Well, the reason I joined the NRA is that I don't want to lose that right.
But
I
Phil.
didn't like what was going on, so it was worth $25 a quarter to me for 15 years to get the jacket. And
oh no, you did it because you knew you could come on the air, say you did it, and piss us off, and you may not have even done it, but still,
I don't think you did it.
Huh?
I did it.
It looks like he's lying to me.
I did it on my phone. I did it on my phone. Let's see if the thing is still there.
I guess he did do it.
Yeah.
Shit.
Sunday morning.
I want to see it.
Yeah. Let's see if I can find it.
And what happens if during that time you decide not to give them the money anymore?
I think that they'll be pretty angry and
they'll come out and kill you.
Smack you with an AR-15.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, if they start taking away all these types of weapons, they'll just find some new things. Like Elon Musk has now invented a flamethrower. You could buy this flamethrower thing and pull the trigger and it shoots out a flame about 10 feet or something.
Yeah.
So, we're just going to trade one thing for another.
Well, those 3D printers. You'll just get a 3D printer at home and make your own guns.
Well, you just wonder, I'm sorry, Phil, but I just don't understand the whole gun thing. I mean, I just don't understand it. Why you would so just hold on to that right as though it was the only right given to us by the Constitution, And I got to tell you, if Jefferson were to come back, or Hancock, or any of the founders of this country who wrote that Constitution came back and saw what had happened to the Second Amendment, they would have said, if I had known that, I would have never even put that in the Constitution. Because it was put in there for a specific purpose, and it was a zeitgeist, the tempo of the times. It was important because what it was making a statement was, hey, King whoever over in England, King George, fuck you. We're giving ourselves the right to have guns because you tried to take them away and we wouldn't have been able to revolt against you. And that's why it was in there. It was in there because of the times, not because it was something that was going to be needed 300 years in the future. In fact, Jefferson said on one occasion that the Constitution should be rewritten every 50 years.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There you go.
Now,
There we go.
I can't find the email.
$1,500 fucking bucks.
Yeah.
Real. Oh, my God.
Quarterly easy pay, EPL, 60 quarterly payments of $25.
60 quarterly payments. You're not going to live that long.
Well, it's $100 a year, and as comparison to $40 a year. But in 10 years, it might be $100 a year to join the NRA, because I could have joined as a life member years ago, and it was like $400 or $500 or $350. And now all of a sudden it's $1,500. So.
Hey Phil,
can you will it?
Are you guys reading the comments on the chat thing?
I'm looking at it.
So someone just said, "Does Phil wish to have the right to buy the home Zyklon B kit?"
I don't even know what that means.
Oh, it's what the Nazis used for gas.
I see.
Yeah.
I want
a home ticket.
Yeah.
I'm just picturing you and your diesel submarine and your rifle cruising around the bay. Damn, that would have been cool.
Yeah, it would have been.
Yeah.
I had a Bayliner Sierra Sunbridge at the time, and I said, why would I want the...
Yeehaw!
Yeah.
Phil, isn't there anything that exceeds the limit of reasonable stuff that you ought to not have this stuff at home?
Yeah, if they would have changed that life membership to $1,750.
You don't know if you would have done it.
That's your limit.
Yeah, done.
Does Wayne LaPierre come out to your home and give you a blowjob?
No, but I get a brushed leather jacket. Now I'm wondering whether it's real leather or leatherette.
Well, we'll have to
wait.
When
the jacket comes, I'll show you.
Oh, well, I'm sure you will. You'll be wearing it on the show. I know you.
Yeah.
By the way, how many days have we got till you go to the hospital?
March 19th.
March 19th.
We'll say prayers for you, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thoughts and prayers, please.
No, just prayers. You're not worth the thoughts, but the
Thoughts
prayers.
and
The prayers. Yeah. No, because
Are you gonna get a hat too, an NRA hat?
No, I chose the jacket and the magazine. You had several magazine subscriptions that come with it, and which one I chose? The handgun one.
The handgun magazine.
Not hunting, because I'm not into hunting.
You go onto their channel, and each of their things is sponsored by somebody. And it's
is that cute?
And it's
I wanna go
always
get my
it's
dog.
always a gun company. So I can't sit there watching it going, well, that's sponsored by Winchester. I'm never going to buy one of their guns ever again.
Hey, it's time for the cute little animal break.
Oh, poodle.
Right? Yeah, because it's in keeping with Facebook mythology.
I wish
you know,
I
you
had
gotta put cute little animals.
I wish I had some music for that.
That's Albie.
Yeah.
Say hi,
my
Albie.
dog.
All right. All right.
Yeah,
Good.
I
You
wish
can
I
go
had.
back to
I wish
bed.
I don't have music here set up to run cute dog music. Now wait a minute. Now Ray's going out to get his dog. I wonder how big do you think Ray's dog is? I think Phil went out to get his dog. There we go. There we go. Here's Phil's dog.
Hey, it looks like my dog. Oh, I got to get my dog now.
Oh
Phil,
God!
your dog
Here
looks
we go.
exactly
Okay,
like my dog.
go ahead. Go ahead. That's what the video's all about. Let's do something with it rather than just have a bunch of old altacacas. You know.
It would take me too long to get my dog. We got 5 of them.
Really? Why don't you just? All you got to do is whistle, right?
They don't answer.
Say something, Ella. Come on.
Tell them about your dog. How you got your dog?
I found her on the freeway.
Yeah.
Ah.
Luckiest thing ever happened to her. Well, here we go. You know something? I think if we had Johnny put up his dog, I think they're all the same dog. If you want my opinion.
Duplicate.
Look at the camera.
Yeah. look at these dog faces, ladies and gentlemen. I know that my wife, if she's watching this tomorrow, is going, that one, yours, Ray, is really. It looks like yours, Ray, looks like a cartoon character.
Yeah, it's like a big, it's like a mop or something.
Yeah, it seems like a heavy mop.
Well, she's only like 17 pounds, but
yeah,
she's trying to get away.
Oh, I see. And how does she?
Now she's throwing up or something. Awesome.
Good. Nothing like getting some numbers for this show by having a dog barfing on the air.
Okay, you can get down now.
Yeah. Put the dog down before she.
Screw up my bike.
Come here, Lucy.
Yeah, mine got caught in mine also. In my string.
Well, I have that same problem, but it's with my penis. So you know.
Bob had his dog.
Bob has one of his dogs, one of the 5 dogs. Well, at least he looks different than the other dogs. What is happening with Ray's dog? Jeez, he's having a.
Yeah, hey, this is a no cat panel.
I wish that we were babysitting the cat. I would bring the cat on the air and show you the cat.
See how the dogs react to the cat.
You know something? What is that?
That's the cone of shame.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's been scratching the side of his face and bleeding, so you had to wear the cone of shame so he doesn't do that.
Now that isn't the first. Is that the first dog you showed us?
No, that's
yeah, it's the same dog.
Oh, you just put the cone on him.
Yeah, I wanted him to look pretty for TV, but this is what he really is looking like.
Well,
I bet you when he barks, it amplifies the sound.
Yeah, Bob's got 5 dogs.
Well, you just saw 2.
Well,
yeah.
All right, poor Albie. I'll get what you got.
That means he got 20 legs.
And we're back after that slight pause.
Yeah.
You get it? A slight pause.
Well, when we moved here from
Animal
Salt
break.
Lake City, we had 6 dogs and 4 cats.
Oh boy.
And Stormy drove with 5 dogs in her car, and I drove with 4 cats and a dog in my car.
Really?
Looks like you got a doggy door there, and the dog is thinking about going outside, but isn't it cold where you are?
That's the 3rd dog.
Oh, okay.
So wait a minute. Your wife's name, Bob. Your wife's name is Stormy.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
Well, that's not her real name. That's what we call her.
Oh, I see.
That Clint Eastwood movie, Play Stormy for Me, or
Misty.
Misty Stormy.
Wrong again.
Stormy Daniels.
Yeah.
Now we're back to Trump, right?
Yeah, we're right back to Trump. By the way, his son-in-law no longer is going to have access to secret materials. Finally, Kelly said to all the people who haven't gotten clearance yet, you cannot have access to any situation where you might be privy to confidential and top secret materials, which means that Jared Kushner is pretty much going to be, I think, out there with the cleaning women.
No, he's got secret, but not top secret. He can't see the most sensitive stuff, but he can still see stuff.
Well,
what about Ivanka? Can she see? Not Ivanka. the daughter. What's the daughter?
Ivanka.
Yeah.
Ivanka. Yeah, Ivanka. Ivana is the mother.
Can she see stuff?
Ivanka, she has an office in the White House, but it's for her own personal use.
Oh.
For all her, I don't know, whatever she sells.
I thought she was an advisor or something.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But Jared Kushner has been demoted, so to speak.
Yeah.
They just said if you don't get the clearance, you haven't gotten the clearance by now, you cannot be privy to any what we would consider confidential or top secret materials.
Hey, why doesn't Trump make this whole experience into a reality TV show? You know, like a Trump Day at the White House.
I got news for you. He doesn't need to. It already is.
Johnny, yeah, he did.
And he could bring Ozzy Osbourne in once in a while.
So the ratings are very good.
You know, Ozzy Osbourne
it
like
would be
wandering
the
around.
top-rated show in the world. Are you kidding me, man? Trump could make trillions of dollars on this idea. All the Russians would be watching it. The Brits would be watching it. The
There are a
French
couple of
would
things that
watch
are happening. To begin with, Kushner owns a office building or maybe an apartment building here in New York City, and it's going bankrupt. So,
it's supposed to sell. They're not. The units aren't selling for some reason.
Oh, they aren't. Is that the thing that's happening? Yeah. Okay.
There's something about the address 666.
Now,
change that.
The other thing is that Trump Tower is not doing very good business. A lot of people are moving out. A lot of people are getting out at a loss because they don't want to be in Trump Tower. It's just too inconvenient for them now.
Do you blame them?
I don't blame them at all.
So now you have an opportunity.
Let me finish.
If you don't win your lawsuit, you may be able to afford Trump Tower in a few more months.
We have these
prices.
We have these two friends and their child who really don't live here now. They live in, I believe they're living in Beijing at the present time. But they come over here every now and then to stay in their apartment in New York. And their apartment in New York is in one of the buildings that says Trump on it. Because it's part of Trump City. Remember Trump City?
Yeah.
And all the people in the building have signed a petition to get the name Trump taken off the building. And the Trump Corporation is fighting it like crazy. But they say they want the name Trump taken off of there because they've bought these apartments and they feel the name Trump on the building is lowering the property values. And that they want it taken off. And so they're fighting with the Trump Corporation, who I don't know exactly how that whole thing worked, but it's not like Trump owns all those buildings. It's like they paid him for the right to put the name on the buildings.
Hey, forget about impeaching the guy. This is the way you get to him. You take his name off his buildings. You devalue the worth of them. You know, I mean, that's going to hurt him more than being impeached.
I saw this documentary today.
Put a big T on the White House.
I saw this documentary today on Putin. And a couple of things about Putin I didn't realize. One of the things was, remember, he took an oligarch and threw him in jail for 9 years. You remember that oligarch they threw in jail? And they said he did that as a lesson to the rest of the other 29 oligarchs. And one of them actually came to Putin and said, what do we do to keep out of jail? And the deal that was done was, you give me 50%. Of everything you make. So Putin is worth now somewhere in the territory of $45 billion.
So it's like
may
a
be the
mafia
richest
don.
man in the world.
Sounds like The Sopranos.
It is. It's a mafia
It is.
don.
He's absolutely well. He was with the KGB, and he's really running it like a KGB operation. And
okay, in fairness, you got to invite Oliver Stone on the show and ask his opinion of that. The guy lived with Putin. He did an excellent documentary.
Well, if I interviewed Putin tomorrow, I'm sure he would be charming as hell.
Of course.
And
So was
I could
Saddam
probably ask him any question I wanted to, and he would have the same kind of answers he gave Oliver Stone, which were very well crafted.
You like Siberia?
But I also have to get out of the
I've been
country.
to Siberia.
I also have to get out of the country at that point. This guy is gold to Trump, and I mean what I saw that he did in that country. So what the problem is now, because he's done so many illegal things. I mean, he's gained illegal profits and so on. That they say that his biggest fear is no longer being, the president of Russia, because the minute he isn't, there are going to be so many charges leveled against him that he's never going to get out from underneath them. That he has to stay in office till the day he dies, otherwise he's going to be arrested.
And he probably could move to the U.S.
And that's why he's doing it by any means possible. Why he's killing the press. Why the press has no freedom over there. If you are a press person and you speak out against him, you get poisoned. Okay, I mean, there's no question about it. So that's the kind of world I think Trump would like to have here. To be honest with you,
Putin's people, these internet trolls they call them. They're doing a pretty good job of creating a Cold War atmosphere. And,
they say that the work that they did during this last election was just a practice session.
Yeah. And we're probably going to get hit by the Koreans and the Chinese as well.
Did you see what they found out today about Russia's influence? They actually played with the results in something like 9 different states, California being one of them, by dickering and by hacking the polling machines.
Yeah. Wow. Well, California went overwhelming for Hillary, so I don't know how well that worked.
Well, they may have hacked it still to make it look
better.
Hey,
I'd go with Glenn Greenwald's take on this with the Russian meddling. You just got to Google it and listen to it. I think.
What's his take on it?
These 13 indictments. I mean, what a bunch of crock of shit. I mean, Click Farm operations. They accused one of them staged a 3-person protest near the White House. I mean, what the fuck is that?
Well, the thing is that you can charge these 13 people and I think 3 corporations in Russia, but they're not here, and they'll never be able to arrest them. So they did it, I think, to just make themselves feel good. But I think they needed to do that in order to get further down the line to the closer object in mind, which is, I think, our president. Yes, Jeff. Did you have your hand up? Oh, I thought you had your hand up. Which I think is the president. But I don't know. What?
Talking about people disappearing in Russia, 2 of the members of Pussy Riot just mysteriously disappeared.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, one of the women from Pussy Riot was in this documentary. Pussy Riot, in case you don't remember, was a rock group who did music that was anti-Putin, basically, and they performed one of them in a church, and that's what they got arrested in jail for.
Yeah. Now there was another thing, a little off the point, but on to Trump. He's come out pro Duarte from the Philippines, saying that drug dealers should be killed. And that's was Duarte's stance. And actually, he killed, I think, 2,000 of them. He said, you can turn the drugs in, Duarte said.
Yeah.
And if you don't, we're gonna kill you. And he did.
Well,
Hey, see, that's a good thing. Then we could go after the drug dealers in our country and start with the fucking CIA.
Think about it.
How many of those drug dealers were guilty, though? Or innocent, let's say, were innocent and still got executed?
Well, I'm sure plenty of them.
Well, then I guess it's not the best idea in the world, Phil.
Works for me.
Hey, oh, it did? It also, wait a minute. What? Then I guess you like Mao Zedong, because that's exactly what Mao did to end drugs in China.
Now, in Singapore, they did a pretty good job of ending drugs and gum chewing, and a few other things. You know, you're not allowed to chew gum in Singapore.
Singapore is a dictatorship.
Yeah.
You know, in Egypt, they just threw one of the American Idol judges in jail because she said that the Nile was too dirty to drink out of.
Good.
Now, was this an American Idol judge on Egyptian American Idol? Or no, Egyptian Idol?
Egyptian Idol.
Egyptian American
Idol. She threw in jail because she made a joke about the Nile River being dirty.
And she got jailed for that?
Yes.
Well, at least she didn't get the golden ticket.
Yeah.
I'm hesitant to ask what the golden ticket is.
Oh, that's when all the judges like the person and they send them off to, the next.
You're going to Vegas or whatever. Where they,
and then they push this button and all these little golden tickets fall from the ceiling.
Oh, no, that's another show.
Oh, that's not Idol?
That's America's Got Talent.
Yeah, America's Got Talent.
Oh.
Where if they hit the button, then all the stuff comes down and they just go directly, they get to bypass the quarterfinals and go to the semifinals. Yeah.
But the president of Egypt is also one of Trump's favorite people. After all, there's no press freedom there. Nothing.
Yeah.
Well, when the Brotherhood was running Egypt, it was a lot worse. The Muslim Brotherhood.
Well, here's the one I don't get. Okay, and that is that my cable system and probably your cable system run RT, which is Russian television, and it is a propaganda wing of the Soviet Union. They used RT to spread some of the fake news against Hillary and so on during the election, and the people who work over there, Larry King does a show there. Tom Hartman, the big lefty,
but I like
does a show on RT.
What's wrong with that?
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that is you're working for one woman who was an anchor woman at RT. They had the video of her. One day, just looked down and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I am leaving my job here at RT because I cannot be a pawn of the Russian government."
That was the black anchor woman?
No, white anchor woman.
Anchor woman?
No, it was a white anchor woman.
Oh, okay.
And said, "I cannot be a pawn anymore. This place is being run as an arm of Soviet propaganda," and she quit right on the air. But that wasn't enough to make Tom Hartman give up his job or make Larry King give up his job, or who was the former governor of the state of Minnesota, the wrestler.
Oh, the wrestler?
Yeah.
Jesse Ventura.
Jesse Ventura. He has a show over there. These are all people working for the Russian government. And then they also showed where news that was being dispensed by RT and by some of the other news devices that the Russians had to spread fake news were then being reported by people like Alex Jones. A lot of the stuff he was saying was stuff they had put on, that he was then reporting as truth.
Talking about Alex Jones, apparently he's hilarious. One more violation away from being permanently banned from YouTube.
Oh, really?
Because of some of the stuff that he's been putting out, false news and stuff. And apparently I saw today someplace he's one violation away from permanent ban.
By the way, Scott Boddicker writes that Tom Hartman is not on RT anymore. Well, I'm glad he finally saw the light. You know.
Hey, I'll tell you, I got to be honest. I watch RT more than I do Fox. You know,
but you can't
talk about propaganda. Fox News. I mean,
of course. I mean, you get propaganda either way. But you know, I don't think that I wouldn't watch RT and believe anything you see there, because it's all going to be slanted. You know, it's going to be very slanted, but not. At least Fox is slanting their news because they think it's to the benefit of the United States. RT's news is slanted to benefit Russia, okay? And I think that's the problem with RT. And again, that's a channel I think we should work at getting off the air, because it did play into the misinformation that went on during the election. And there were a lot of people, when people see stuff on TV, they don't know what RT was. It doesn't say Russia television. And in fact, they showed Putin going through the offices in New York City on a tour when he was in the United States. And this woman who runs it, who defends it ferociously, But they say it's an absolute propaganda device from Putin to us. It's a nice gift he gave us. Why, you don't think it is that way, Johnny?
I respectfully disagree.
Why? It's a fact.
Well, you'd have to give it a look and
I've looked at it. I've looked at it, but
Chris Hedges is on RT.
Yeah, so
I mean, how can you not curse Hedges and say he's a propaganda tool?
Well, because
he speaks out more against doings in foreign countries than he does in the U.S., although he's a big critic of the U.S. But, I mean, that's a long, hearkening to a long tradition of muckraking American journalism. I mean, if our democracy is worth anything, it's worth a lot of self-criticism, and I think if we're not getting that from our major media, we are getting.
The problem with RT is that it's being run for the benefit of Russia and for Russian propaganda and disinformation.
Not all the news. I think it's a pretty straight up thing. I think their news is pretty good. I even watch DW, which is the German one. It kind of gets you a different take.
No, it's nice that you get a different take, I
found the email finally. NRA, there it is.
You
Thank
go.
you.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
There it is.
And yeah, he loves pissing away his money.
Well, they didn't ask me what size jacket I wanted.
When are you gonna let me buy that Mini Mac from you?
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
All
but
right.
I offered you a price. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, probably. This wasn't the $400 one. This was the $1,300.
No, there isn't a $400 one. The first one starts at $800.
$499.
No, there's no $499 Mini Mac. No.
Yeah,
not
$499
no,
Mini Mac.
No, there isn't a four. I paid close to $900 for the Mini Mac.
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
Yeah,
it will work somehow. You need one?
Well, I'd like just a spare. Yeah, I could use that here.
What is a Mini Mac?
A Mac Mini is a desktop Macintosh or desktop Mac computer. It doesn't come with a screen, but
or a keyboard or anything else. But when you plug it into a screen and you plug and all that, it's a full-fledged Mac. It's really they're very good. They're very good. Hey, listen, there's the theme. We're all through. We've done our duty here tonight and had a very nice conversation all the way around with some very good people. Johnny, call more. We really love having you here. You're really good, in spite of the fact you watch RT. Ray, always a pleasure to have you here. Jeff,
thanks, Alex.
You're like an old friend now. And Bob Eberth, nice of you to call as well. What?
This show went to the dogs.
Yes, and Phil Myers.
Yeah, sure did.
Why don't you all wave a big goodbye so everybody can say goodnight to you? Bye, guys. Okay, that's our citizens panel for tonight, and I hope you enjoyed them, ladies and gentlemen, as much as I did. And I hope they enjoyed their stay here, and you can be part of the citizens panel. Just go over to gabnet.net. Okay, and over on the right-hand side of the page is a whole primer on how you can do it and be part of the Citizens Panel. Hope we'll see you here tomorrow night at the same time. Right after us is the Intersection with Jack and Amy, and then we got the Connections at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and then tomorrow night at 8:30 is the Franchise MC with the our sports show, The Arena. That's followed by Damian Chaplin. He goes on at 9:30 Eastern Time, and then at 10. I'll be here again. Same time, same station in life. In the meantime, as always, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Bye.